Greetings and welcome to From the Basement. This is the beginning of my introductory series of videos on the Neverwinter Foundry. The Foundry is a powerful tool for creating your own adventures to share with your friends. But because it's a powerful tool, there's a lot of options, a lot of things that need to be done. It can be very complex. The goal of this video and the remainder in this series is to give you the bare minimum needed to create a simple quest, get it published, and have it in a state that people are going to enjoy playing. This is not going to exhaustively cover every single option in the Foundry. That would make this ridiculously long and nobody would want to watch it. Like I said, this is instead going to focus on what are the bare minimum things you need to do to get an adventure published and out there. Other videos in the From the Basement series will cover the Foundry in greater detail. For example, videos focusing specifically on doors, conversations, encounters, things like that. So, with that, let's go ahead and get started looking at the interface here. This is what you will see when you first click on the Create a Quest button inside the Foundry menu. The first thing you'll immediately notice is you've got these little yellow exclamation marks everywhere. These are warnings informing you of tasks that must be done before you can publish. You can still work on this and you can still self-test it using the Play Map feature, but you cannot publish until these things are done. You can click on your task list, which is always visible, to see everything that must be done, and it will tell you in which category each of these in. So I've got 2 things in quest, 1 thing in story. As we progress, we'll have more of these popping up in different categories. You can have these showing in quest, story, maps, dialogue trees. I've never seen it show up for costumes, but I'm assuming it's possible, and items. Let's go ahead and look at the quest tab here. Name is what you are going to call your adventure. So I'm going to call this My Cool Dungeon. And then the description is what people are going to read in the description tag when they're browsing through the Foundry list. So, oops, that shouldn't be capitalized. A really awesome adventure. Okay. And as I click out of there, you notice I now no longer have those yellow exclamation marks there. Now, I'm having a little bit of fun with this, but you wouldn't actually want to call your dungeon My Cool Dungeon and your description A Really Awesome Adventure. No one's going to take your quest seriously, and probably very few people, if any, are going to actually bother to load this up and play it. So you need to take the time and come up with a good name and a good description for your dungeon. Language indicates which language this is in. Needs to say I'm American, from the United States, and so yeah, I'm going to be sticking with the English. But if you know these other languages, you will definitely find an audience if you can do quests in languages other than English. There's definitely an audience for that. Private notes, these are things that only you are going to see. So if you've got like a to-do list, or if people have reported bugs to you and you want to keep track of them before you have a chance to fix them, you can put stuff like that here. Again, our pre-published task list is basically a more expanded version of this. All right, the reviews, star ratings, tips. Just a quick word about this, even though there's nothing you can do here to actually publish a quest. First thing to keep in mind, you will get 1-star ratings, and they're going to be for the most asinine reasons possible. 1-star rating, I didn't get a class item in the inn chest. Hey, thanks, buddy. I can't control that. Be prepared for it. Not everyone's going to like your quest. Some people are going to hate it, and honestly, some people are just jerks that like giving 1-star ratings because they can. Be prepared for it. Don't let it get you down. Honestly, if this is the reason why you're doing a quest, or this is the reason why you're doing a quest, save yourself the time, save yourself the heartache. Stop now. Seriously. The reason, this cannot be the reason why you're doing a quest. Because honestly, most quests aren't going to get massive numbers of ratings. Most quests aren't going to get massive numbers of tips. You've got to do this because you've got a desire in you to create. You have a story you want to tell, that you want to use this editor to create the story that you have in your mind and get it out there for someone to enjoy. The way I look at it personally, one person plays my quest and they enjoy it, I've done good. All right, that's enough on the soapbox. Let's continue on with creating our quest. The next thing we're going to look at here is our story tab. This is where you set up the quest objectives that your players are going to have to complete in order to clear your quest. Keep in mind, your players must complete every objective on the story. There is no conditional logic on the story. If you're interested in presenting your players with choices, you either have to use smoke and mirrors, which is a very common thing to do in the Foundry, or you're going to have to do it off the story tab. So, video on that later. First thing we need to do is we need to create a map. Conveniently, there's a plus map button right in the middle of the screen. Now, you can base your map in an adventure zone, like, say, the Tower District, or you can create a custom map. Now, this is a little bit more complicated, so let's go with a new custom map. Now, when we create our map, we have a choice between an empty map, or Cryptic has provided us with a subset of the maps that they have created. These maps are already fully decorated and ready to use for your adventuring pleasure. And as you can see, there's a lot of these maps. Now, click faster. All right, so yeah, that's all the maps. Got it? Good. In all seriousness, they're really well done maps, but we're going to focus on creating our own custom map. So I'm going to select the custom empty map. I have to give my map a name, so oops, if I can type properly would help. Cool Dungeon. I can give it a version, but that's optional. This is a personal thing. So if you want to keep versions of your dungeons to indicate, when you've made changes, great. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Outdoor, that's a whole different kettle of fish. We're not going to touch outdoors right now. So, name, version, which is optional, empty custom map, create. All right, I've got a map. And yay, I've got a new exclamation point. Mouse over it. Always remember, mouse over is your friend in most cases. One task, map transition, must specify a door. If I click on this, it'll bring up my transition properties. Basically what this is telling me is I need some way of getting into this quest. Now I got two options. One is to choose an interactable in the adventure zones that I use to enter this map. So for example, I can select the Never Death Graveyard and select this grave marker. Or I can select Protector's Enclave, and oh mind you, got all sorts of things in here. And I could choose the Hall of Justice Sewer Grate East. This is the only way you can level gate your content. There is no other way to stop players from gaining access to your content. If a player can reach the entry point to your quest, they can go on your quest, any level. The quest will automatically scale to their level. However, if you would prefer them to not enter your quest until, say, they're a certain level, you can do things like say, okay, Never Death Graveyard. And as I select some of these waypoints, like this one just says a wooden crate. But if I select this one, unsafe location. Unsafe location. Monsters surround the location. I don't know why they don't bother just to say unsafe there, but yeah. So yeah, this is a higher level area, mid-level. So by placing my quest entry point there, I am basically guaranteeing that, yeah, a level 10's probably not going to be able to survive making it all the way to the mausoleum entrance on the Never Death Graveyard. This is the only way you can level gate stuff. But we're not going to do that. We're going to take the easy way, the easiest way for the players to get to the quest, and that is we're going to use the overworld map. And so I'm going to overworld map, true, close it out, and now my exclamation point moved. Map location must specify a location and icon. If I click on this area here, it now brings up the overworld map thing. So I can say choose location, and it shows me the travel map that you see whenever you use one of the gates in Neverwinter. Let's see here. Let's choose a crypt. Not exactly accurate. We're not going to do a crypt. And you could do something so like, okay, yeah, this crypt is in the middle of the sea. Okay. I'm not going to be that crazy about it. It's buried in the mountains someplace. Keep in mind that your icons can overlap the main adventure icon, so it might be handy to have, like on a second screen or Alt-Tab ready, a map of Neverwinter printed out so you can try to position your stuff such that it's not going to overlap with an official icon. All right, hit OK. Close that out. Notice that exclamation mark is now gone. Of course, I don't have any objectives, so what are we going to do for our quest? Now, normally you'd want to spend a fair amount of time planning things out before you get here. For this demonstration, we're going to keep things fairly simple. A wizard has heard of a scroll located in a dungeon ruin, but the only problem is it's filled with kobolds. And the wizard really can't be bothered to get his hands dirty with those filthy little creatures, so he's hiring you, the adventurer, to go get it for him. That's our storyline. So we're going to use the kill enemies, because that's like one of the simplest ones to use. We're going to have 3 fights against the kobolds. And then we are going to interact with object to pick up the scroll. And as we got a whole bunch of yellow exclamation points here, we'll come back to that in a different video. Moving on to our maps. We've only got one map right now, so that's automatically selected. Navigating through the map areas is pretty simple. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. You also have a zoom slider bar right here. To pan around in the scene, you press and hold the middle mouse button, and you can pan around. You have 2 modes, detail and layout. Detail is for putting down your, detail is for putting down your detail objects, where exactly is that pile of rocks. Layout is where you put down your rooms, and that's what we want to do right now. So over here we have our asset library. This is all the things you have available to put into the game. I'm going to go into rooms, and as you can see, there's a lot of room pieces. To thin that out, I'm going to select the dungeon type. And so that just shows me all of the dungeon pieces. So I'm going to grab one. Let's say, I'm going to click on this because it doesn't show me which size it says. Dungeon room small. That's actually, no, I want, there we go, medium. Dungeon room medium, and plop that down here. Now notice it's going to immediately put a spawn point in. Spawn point is a special snowflake. It's a detail object, and it's the only detail object that's actually selectable and movable inside the layout mode. I don't know why they made that one a special snowflake, but they did. Okay. So I have a room now. And if I want to add in another room, let's say a nice corridor. Every dungeon needs a hallway. Oops, no, I want a long hallway. And I drag it down. Notice I got this green glow here. That is the auto door system that's in the Foundry. Regardless of where I move this piece, it is going to be able to put in a door. And in the case of along the edge here, oops, I can slide the door on this tile system to wherever I want it. I can move it over here. Now notice if I overlap the rooms, it will not let me do that. I get this red here, and all of a sudden I get a task item telling me rooms must not overlap. So I'm going to put my room right there. And then I'm going to grab, let's see here. Let's grab another dungeon room medium. Put it there. Let's grab another hallway piece. Put it there. Let's grab a large dungeon room. Put it there. And this one here is my favorite for boss. Dungeon room, upper boss room. This is a really great room to sort of end a quest in. It's nice, it's big, it's epic, and it's also not the orientation I want it. Notice, of course, when you put your mouse over a room piece, you get these little rotation arrows. Those, shockingly enough, allow you to rotate the room in 90-degree increments to where you want it. Also notice this room's a little bit different. It's got, if we zoom in here a little bit, it's got these little tick marks. This room does not auto-cut quite as cleanly as the others. If I try and place this against here, notice no auto-cut. Nothing happens. I rotate it. No auto-cut. Doesn't matter where I try and place this, no auto-cuts. Instead, the only place that this room can auto-cut in is where you see these tick marks. So I can place the room, oops, scroll out a little bit here. I can place the room here, and notice I had to twitch it a little bit to get it to connect. I can place the room here, and now it cuts through. Now, I have done this in a very specific way to show you something that you should never ever do, and that is you want to avoid these super long, straight sight lines. Let's see how this looks in game. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. I'm going to right-click down here, and I'm going to say Play Map from here. Or I could click on Play Map, and it'll start me off from the spawn point. I generally like to use Play Map from here. By the way, I don't have a supercomputer. I just simply cut out the loading screens. And I'm in my underwear again. Why am I in my underwear? Alright, so this is what I mean by we want to avoid these really super long sight lines. First of all, it's boring to look at. There's just this long, straight, endless corridor. You know, it's not very exciting to walk down. Okay, yeah, we'd have a fight in here, so there'd be a moment of excitement. And then we're back to walking down a long corridor. And I guess, you know, we could put encounters in here. But yeah, it's just, it's bad design. Really long sight lines. Oh yeah, and those stairs glitch horribly if you're too far away. Although I'm pretty sure it doesn't do that once you're in game. So yeah, it's you know, you don't want to see things like that. It doesn't look good. It doesn't play good. You just want to avoid it. Unless, of course, you are trying to go for a very specific effect, or you have an actual specific reason for having super long corridors. I still really highly recommend it. Alright, so to get out of our test mode here, I'm going to hit Escape, and I'm going to say Return to Foundry. If I wanted to keep testing, I'd say Return to Game, but no. Return to Foundry. Yes, I'm sure I want to quit. Alright, so how can we not do this? Well, let's see here. I'm going to move this one over here, and then later on I'll use a detail object to seal off this end, so that way it doesn't keep on going. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this extra long piece here. Oh, and I think I skipped a description step there. I am left-click and dragging to move these rooms around. Also notice I've got a trash can. If I left-click and start dragging, I can drag this over and toss it in the trash can. Control-Z to undo. Or I can click on this and press delete. Either way works. Alright, I'm going to move this over here, and let's use... Where's my little zigzag? Zigzag, where'd you go? There you are. Grab my little zigzag. Put that in. And let's add a little bit of detail here. Let's add in a four-way cross piece. That's, you know, not, again, I'm not saying never have corridors, obviously. But this gives me a little bit of detail. You know, I can either choose to, like, collapse those or put some statues there or something. Gives me a little bit more detail. Alright, so now I will grab this corner piece. Put it like that. Grab. Let's do this four-way. I like these four-way pieces. I'm not quite sure why. Yeah, let's do it like that. And then I can move this piece down here. So I'm still staying true somewhat to the original idea. The player is constantly traveling north, but now it's broken up a little bit. It's not just this continuous, just straight march down a long corridor, occasionally stopping to kill things. There's now a little bit of exploration to it. And if I really wanted to expand this out, which you don't really have time for in a simple video like this. I might do things like, okay, well, let's put an optional room off to the side here. Like maybe there's, the prison cells. Again, this is one of those pieces that has tick marks, so I'd have to put it like that. Now, and maybe, put something off of here that the player could explore. All sorts of fun things you can do, but let's keep it simple for now. And that is pretty much it for room placement. One thing before we move on to the next, and that is it is possible to have multiple doors cutting into a room. So for example, on our corridor here, I could set it up so that way there are 2 doors here. And how you do that, if you go into the Special tab, one of your options is going to be a door. And you can either drag that onto a wall that does not have a connection, or you can drag it onto a wall that does have a connection. And if you drag it onto a wall that does not have a connection, that will generate a task. Notice I delete this, I have 5 tasks, I drag this door on, and now I have 6. I click on the door. Since this is a fake door, I must choose a door that it represents. And I'll talk more about doors in another video. I just wanted to point that out, that we can put in fake doors, mainly used for map transitions or abort exits, if you want to give the player a way to bail out of your quest, or for putting multiple entries into the same room, which I don't want, so delete. Alright, so this covers room placement. On the next video, we're going to look at how we can add detail objects to this to bring this to life, because right now, it's really kind of a slow, plain slog to get through all of that. So, until the next video.